Welcome back, Reef fams. Got another update for you. So I was out on vacation for a week, and guess what? If anything's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong when you're out of town. Since I set this tank up, everything has been perfect. Of course, I go out of town, and then the power decides to go out. Well, here I am thinking everything's automated, I'm good to go. I was wrong. Apparently, the Wi-Fi socket switches down there are set up where if they go out, if the power goes out, they don't come back on in default on position. So unfortunately, I was scrambling. Thankfully, my brother-in-law was watching the place, and we worked everything out through the phone with minimal casualties. I say minimal casualties, unfortunately, because I had two flurry clowns in the sump, and not in the sump, in my frag tank down below above the sump, and unfortunately I lost those two little guys. I did end up replacing them, and I'll show you what I replaced them with, but I also made sure to change the setup down there, so if this ever happens again, the water won't drain down in the frag tank. So any life in there will hopefully remain alive. Now, one thing I am going to change, and I already put in an order, just waiting for it to come in, is I'm changing the whole controller setup down there so I can control everything and monitor everything remotely on any of my trips and not worry about this happening again. I ordered a Neptune Apex. That should be in the next few days, hopefully, and redoing the whole controller setup down there. So stay tuned for that. But for today's update, I'm just going to show you around the tank, show you how everything's progressing, and just fill you in on the new fish and corals. Not that many new corals, but a few frags in there, so hope you like them. Let's get started. Alright, since the last update, I ended up getting a couple millies, a Monty, and a LPS. So we'll start off with the millies. This is one of the millies I ended up getting. Sure it'll grow out. The polyps are a little metallic blue. I'm interested to see what the base ends up changing to. But once it grows out, we'll get a better look at it. It looks like it's going to be a pretty piece, but we'll find out. The next millie is this guy right here. It's hard to see, but it's around a pinkish base, so it's hard to pick up on the camera. It's actually like a metallic pink, but the colors will get a little better as it grows, and it definitely will fill in that spot once it starts getting bigger in size. Right beside it is another piece I ended up getting. It's almost like a splatter paint hammer. I actually think it might be a splatter paint hammer. It doesn't look like a toxic hammer, but it's either one of those two. It's definitely a pretty piece to add on to my LPS collection. Waiting for it, of course, it's going to be a little while, but as it gets bigger, I'll probably end up moving it from there, and just that spot will be more for SPS allocation, but I'll move it around somewhere in the tank and give it its final home. Alright, and the final frag that I got before I went on my trip is this green Monty. So I have it sitting here. As it grows, I'll see if I want to keep it there. I feel like it's going to be a nice spot for it there as long as I manage its growth and keep trimming it once it gets bigger and bigger. But we'll see. As of right now, it's going to sit there until anything changes. That's it for the new additions. There'll be a few more additions once I pick a few things up from some local reefers. But since I just came into town, I haven't really been playing around with this too much. I'll show you in a second the frag tank setup and the changes I made before my trip. to further automate this tank. There's going to be a few more additions. The next set of additions probably the softies that I've been trying to pick up for a little while now, and maybe a rainbow bubble tip anemone for the new clowns in the frag tank, which you'll see. But before I go, one of the main fish and one of the fish I'm most saddened about losing is my clown. My flurry clown unfortunately didn't make it while I was gone. Basically, I left, and when I came back, I don't know who he ended up getting in a fight with, since I don't see much aggression going on in this tank. I came back and his fins were nipped up, and basically over the night he ended up passing away. Unfortunately, my other clown now is all lonely by herself. I've had this clown in here for 6-7 years, so she's been moving around from tank to tank. She's doing well, thankfully, but her partner unfortunately didn't make it through. I'm not sure if I'll be replacing her or him anytime soon, but we'll see. But as you can see, everything else in the tank is doing great. Everything is nice and clear. All the fish are happy and doing well, eating perfectly. So hopefully everything continues to go great as it has been. But now let's get to the sump setup and show you the new frag tank as well as the new clowns in there. Alright, this is what everything currently looks like down here. So as you remember before, Fuge and everything else looks the same. Ended up moving the kessel up because I ended up damaging one of my other kessels for being too close down there and sucking in too much humidity. So I've raised this one up to keep it away from any moisture, hopefully, and avoid that incident again. Since the last update, I've filled in the frag tank, and as you can see, there's two little baby black storm clowns in there hanging out. These guys will be in here for a little while until I set up a smaller tank for them and get some anemones in there for them as well. But these cute little guys are definitely a welcome addition. I'm excited to have them and watch them grow and hopefully get them a new place set up soon. But for the meantime, they're going to be in this frag setup, which is currently lit by an AI Prime HD, and it definitely looks like more than enough lighting in there for them and for any of the corals I put in there. Everything is looking great. Can't wait to get some frags in here, grow out, so they can go into the main display eventually. Skimmer's doing great. The reactor's doing great, even though it needs a little cleaning. It looks like it sucked up a little bit of too much grime in there, and I have to take it apart and clean it. But other than that, it's been doing great. Before I left, though, just to automate things, I finally ended up moving my water reservoir over and the auto top off, just to help things along. That way, whoever was watching the tank, their main responsibility was just to feed the tank and fill me in on anything that happens, such as power outages. And thankfully we avoided a big catastrophe. But that goes to show you, make sure you have a good controller in place. I was trying to avoid having to spend the money for a Neptune Apex, but after this incident, I sucked it up and just did it. I was trying to go with a cheaper route. Unfortunately, the cheaper route was doing great until I found out the hard way that when the power goes out or it shuts off, it comes back on in the off position, and which is a bad thing when you're out of town. Thankfully, since they are Wi-Fi enabled, I was able to turn them on, but I didn't find out that everything was shut off until I had my brother-in-law go through it over FaceTime and and basically look at what's on and what's off and figure out what I need to fix remotely. Hopefully that should be cleared up with the Apex. I should be getting notifications when the power goes out and be able to monitor everything remotely without a problem. So I'm excited to get that piece in, get it installed, and just try to make this tank as low maintenance as possible, especially when I go out of town on any trips. This way I don't have to rely on a expert watching my tank while I'm gone. I can have anybody just come in and feed and just send me pictures throughout, so I can just verify everything's going good, that's way I can monitor everything through the Apex. Anyways, that's all I got for you for today. Hope you enjoyed the update. Next update, hopefully I'll be installing the Apex and getting that baby set up. See you guys next time.